During a routine visit to the obstetrician, I, a pregnant woman, was hit with a shocking revelation. The doctor, Dr. Smith, whom I had come to trust and respect during my pregnancy journey, greeted me with a perplexing statement.
Jessica, engaging in an affair is never the right choice,
He said, with a concerned look in his eyes. I was stunned and confused. What do you mean? I asked, my voice trembling slightly as a mix of emotions began to swirl inside me. Dr. Smith continued, his tone firm yet empathetic.
Taking someone else's husband won't land you in jail, but it's morally wrong, especially when you're about to become a mother. You must end this affair immediately for the sake of your child.
I was about to protest and defend myself, filled with indignation at such an accusation, when Dr. Smith revealed a startling truth that I hadn't expected. My name is Jessica Miller, a 30-year-old professional living in America. I've been married to Michael Brown for 5 years. Despite changing my life in many ways after marriage, I chose to keep my maiden name, finding the idea of changing it inconvenient. Michael and I go way back to our high school days. Back then, we were just classmates, each dating someone else. However, at our coming-of-age ceremony at 20, we reconnected and found an instant rapport. After several dinners and shared moments, Michael confessed his feelings, and we began a beautiful relationship. Being from the same class, perhaps, or maybe because of our youthful naivety, we had our fair share of arguments. But these disputes only deepened our understanding of each other, leading to a harmonious marriage with hardly any quarrels. However, about 2 years into our marriage, we faced a challenge. We both yearned for a child but realized, to our dismay, that conceiving wasn't happening as we hoped. After several more months of trying without success, we decided that if we couldn't conceive, we would seek medical help. Upon visiting the clinic, it was revealed that the difficulty in conceiving was due to my infertility. Michael's response to this news was nothing but supportive and kind.
Don't worry.
He comforted me.
Being less fertile means it's not impossible. We just need to find our perfect timing. Let's enjoy our time together and stay hopeful as we go through the treatment.
His words brought me immense joy and reassurance. Fast forward 3 years, and I am now pregnant, a miracle we had been waiting for. Eagerly, I shared the news with Michael, expecting him to be overjoyed. However, his reaction wasn't what I had anticipated.
Oh, that's good news.
He said, somewhat dispassionately. Surprised, I asked, aren't you happy? He quickly changed his tone.
Of course I am. We've worked hard for this.
But this sudden shift only made me more suspicious. I couldn't help but wonder if Michael had been pretending to want a child. Despite these doubts, I knew I had to focus on the well-being of the life growing inside me. I tried to convince myself that he was just caught off guard by the sudden news. Yet, being pregnant seemed to heighten my sensitivity to every small change in his behavior. I began to notice subtle differences. His late returns from work, increased weekend shifts, and even a slight change in his scent. These observations led me to question whether his initial lukewarm response to my pregnancy was because he didn't want a child with me. Michael, have I done something wrong? You seem a bit off lately, I inquired. He brushed it off, saying,
Nothing's changed. Maybe you're just being a bit more sensitive because of the pregnancy.
But I didn't miss the telltale sign. Michael always rubbed his nose when he lied, and there he was, rubbing his nose as he spoke. I knew he was hiding something. Yet, with the pregnancy and the well-being of our unborn child to consider, I decided it was best to remain oblivious to these changes, at least until things settled down after the birth. So, I chose to act as if I hadn't noticed anything amiss in his behavior. One day, as I went for a routine checkup at the hospital, I breathed a sigh of relief when the tests were completed and it was confirmed that my baby was developing well inside my womb. At the end of the visit, as I listened to Dr. Smith's final comments, I was unexpectedly chastised.
Your baby is doing fine, but listen here, Jessica.
He said sternly.
Affairs are absolutely unacceptable. Taking someone else's Michael, even though it might not land you in jail, is akin to a crime. As a mother-to-be, you must stop any affair immediately.
I was taken aback and asked for clarification. What do you mean? I'm not having an affair, Dr. Smith replied.
Michael was here recently with his wife and their unborn child. Aren't you the other woman involved with him?
I was stunned and clarified. What are you talking about? Michael is my husband. The conversation between Dr. Smith and me was confusing and not aligning. But then it hit me. If what Dr. Smith said was true, it meant Michael was having an affair. A fact I had wanted to ignore was suddenly becoming a harsh reality. Dr. Smith seemed equally bewildered. To clear the confusion, I decided to show him proof of my marriage. I presented a photo from our wedding and even called Michael's parents on the spot. Dr. Smith finally understood that I was indeed Michael's wife. It turned out there was a misunderstanding due to another woman, also pregnant, sharing the same last name as ours. Dr. Smith apologized, but it was odd for a doctor to delve into a patient's personal life so deeply. You might have acted out of a sense of justice, but that sense of justice has just shattered a family, I told him coldly. Dr. Smith then shared his story quietly. He had recently been through a divorce after his wife had a child with another man. While I understood his situation was somewhat similar, it didn't justify his behavior towards me. However, my irritation with Dr. Smith paled in comparison to my growing anger towards Michael. His lukewarm reaction to my pregnancy now made sense. He must have been shocked that both his partner and I were pregnant. The thought that he accompanied his affair partner to her checkups while neglecting mine infuriated me more. I requested Dr. Smith to invite Michael to the other woman's next checkup. He nodded in agreement. Returning home that day, I found Michael sitting on the sofa, looking no different than usual. Seeing Michael as usual only intensified my irritation, but I reminded myself that nothing was confirmed yet. I tried to maintain a sense of normalcy in our daily life. At my next checkup, Dr. Smith informed me that Michael and his affair partner were scheduled for an appointment the following week. I called Michael's parents right after leaving the hospital. While I wasn't entirely certain, it was almost sure that Michael was having an affair. His parents apologized profusely, although they were not to blame. The fault lay entirely with Michael. I shared my plan with them, seeking their cooperation. It pained me to involve them, as they had been kind to me since Michael and I started dating, but it was necessary. On the day Michael and his affair partner were due at the hospital, I also made my way there. I watched as Michael, showing a tenderness I had never seen, helped his mistress with her things. The sight was a shock, but I had to stay strong for the baby growing inside me. Michael's parents joined me, and together we followed the couple into the consultation room. As the discussion began, we barged in. Michael was clearly taken aback, and his mistress let out a scream of surprise. We confronted Michael relentlessly.
What are you doing?
I demanded.
Wait, what? Why are you here? And you brought Linda and James too? What's going on?
Michael stammered.
Just explain what this is all about.
Linda insisted. Michael was speechless. His mistress turned to Dr. Smith.
Get these people out. They're falsely accusing my Michael.
Dr. Smith replied.
It appears you're not his wife. These people are his wife and parents-in-law. If you were truly his wife, you'd know his parents, right?
She greeted Michael's parents with a hesitant,
Nice to meet you.
Linda sharply retorted.
We don't need your greetings. We have no intention of associating with you.
My main concern, however, was to hear the truth from Michael. He finally admitted,
I've been having an affair. I'm sorry, she's pregnant with my child, and I felt she needed my support more than you do.
It was clear Michael had chosen her over me. I felt nothing but cold indifference towards him now. Fine, let's get divorced then. Make her happy, I said calmly.
I'm sorry,
Was all he could manage. I'll be expecting a fair amount of alimony. From both of you, I added, turning to his mistress. Michael was visibly shocked by the situation unfolding before him.
Why alimony? We're about to raise a child together. There's no way I'm paying alimony.
He exclaimed in disbelief. You committed adultery, Michael. You have an obligation to pay. And I'll be expecting child support too, I responded firmly. He retorted,
Why should I pay child support for an unborn child? I thought there would be no financial implications if we divorced later after some time had passed.
I couldn't hide my disgust. Did you hear that, Linda, James? I turned to Michael's parents.
This is shameful. I'm so sorry.
Linda said with regret.
We'll handle him.
James assured, trying to lead Michael away. However, Dr. Smith intervened.
I'm sorry, but since they're here for a consultation, can we talk first?
He requested, stopping Michael's parents. Then, Dr. Smith dropped a bombshell.
The child in your belly, it's not Michael's, is it?
Everyone froze at his unexpected revelation.
What are you talking about, you quack doctor? Stop joking around.
Michael's mistress exclaimed. Dr. Smith turned to Michael.
When did you start your affair with Amanda?
About 3 months ago. We met at a club.
Michael confessed. Dr. Smith then revealed.
She has been pregnant for 6 months. Do you understand what this means?
Michael was dumbfounded. I explained to him, the child in her belly isn't yours. Michael looked at Amanda.
That can't be true, right?
Laughing, Amanda confessed.
Well, if it's out in the open. I was targeting a gullible, well-off man. Michael worked for a big company and spent a lot of money on me, so I thought he was a good pick.
Michael, initially devastated, quickly turned angry.
You led me to consider divorcing my wife for you. How could you deceive someone like that?
Amanda retorted.
You were the one who betrayed your wife, not me. You said you liked young women as well as your wife, didn't you? And now you're acting all surprised?
As Michael's wrongdoings were laid bare, he became increasingly agitated.
You do, Doctor. If you hadn't told my wife, none of this would have come out. I could have lived happily without ever mentioning divorce to her.
Amanda scoffed.
Well, I don't need you anyway.
Amid their disgraceful quarreling, Linda raised her voice.
Enough. Stop this disgraceful behavior. We're taking Michael home. Jessica, could you come to our house later?
Take your time, Jessica. You're pregnant after all. We won't let him out of the house for a while.
Linda and James said, showing concern for me as they took Michael away. As I was about to leave, Amanda sneered, now that we're separated, don't bother asking for alimony. It's partly your fault for being betrayed, you know. I replied calmly, I will be filing for alimony. I've hired a private investigator to find your address and will be sending you legal documents. Leaving the clinic amidst their continuing arguments, I headed straight to Michael's parents' house. Michael, sitting in Caesar as a form of punishment, smiled at me.
Glad you came. If you hadn't, I'd still be sitting like this.
He optimistically suggested.
Let's go home. We don't need a divorce. Let's think about our child and relax at home.
I firmly stated, we're getting a divorce, Michael. You might think that breaking up with your mistress means we don't have to divorce, but I can't trust you anymore. I'm planning to involve a lawyer for the alimony issue. Thank you for everything, Linda, James. Linda expressed her regret.
I'm so sorry for all this. When the baby is born, we'll send necessities, even if you don't want us to meet the child.
James echoed her apology.
I can't apologize enough for what happened.
Michael, still in disbelief, questioned.
Why is everyone talking about divorce as if it's decided?
But it was clear to me that our marriage was over, and nothing he could say would change that. After briefly greeting Michael's parents, I left their house to avoid any further stress, especially for the well-being of the child I was carrying. I decided to communicate with Michael only through lawyers. I also hired a private investigator to track down him and his address, ensuring that the legal notices for alimony would reach her directly, avoiding any potential evasion on her part. The lawyers successfully claimed the alimony. It was possible that Michael's parents had paid it, but that detail was inconsequential to me. In the aftermath, Michael was compelled by his parents to resign from his job. He ended up working in a ryokan, a traditional inn owned by a family acquaintance, living there as part of his employment. It seemed that Michael's earnings were now entirely dedicated to repaying the alimony advanced by his parents. As for me, I gave birth to a healthy baby girl. Embracing my role as a mother, I was determined to provide the best upbringing for my daughter. Despite being a single mother, I was resolved not to let her feel the absence of a father, committed to ensuring she would not feel lonely or lacking in any way. Navigating the challenges of single parenthood, I focused on nurturing a loving, supportive environment for my daughter. Though the path ahead was uncharted and perhaps daunting, the bond I shared with my daughter filled me with a sense of purpose and determination.